We interrupt this regularly scheduled podcast to bring you this not-so-special episode.
He came from somewhere back in how long ago. The sentimental fool don't see, trying hard to recreate what had yet to be created. Once in her life, she musters a smile for his nostalgic tale. Never coming near what he wanted to say, only to realize it never really was. She had a place in his life. He never made her think twice. As she rises to her apology, anybody else would surely know he's watching her go. What a fool believes.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hero Movie Podcast, your greatest source for superhero movie and television discussion in the multiverse. I'm your host, Adam Porchers, and joining me today, COVID isn't stopping him, Sweet Sean Kovacs from the internet.
Take it from me, playing medication bingo, there is never any winner.
Oh, or all winners. All winners or all losers. There's usually not a lot of in between. Unfortunately, we are short one Bruce Leslie because maybe his medication is just a little bit short this week. I don't know how that works. That's not necessarily true. I don't know how he got what he got, nor how he got necessarily what he got. It ain't COVID. I don't think it's Ebola,
But it's bad.
but it ain't good. So he's not here this weekend. However, as you probably heard there at the top of the show, if I decided to edit it properly, who knows how that's going to happen today. But unfortunately, because Bruce is on the tail end of his thing and Sean just finished up your bout of COVID, yes, fun.
Oh, so fun.
So much fun. So unfortunately, we decided to do, fortunately, fortunately, we decided to do the smart and correct thing and not put these disease-ridden, so-and-sos out into the ether. We decided to keep them home where the good Lord intended them to be. And we'll be covering Thor Love and Thunder next week. I saw it this week. I could say what my thoughts about it are, but I'm not going to. And we're glad that they'll be able to see it and talk about it because we don't want to miss that up. No good there. And we wanted to put a show out today for something. And the initial thought was do some more boys, and I couldn't finish 5 episodes today because it was a little bit too much. So we started flipping through to figure out exactly what we'll be doing this week. And while this may not be the most comic booky thing in the world, it is a Chris Hemsworth movie. And I think ultimately that's where we should have really, thought about this whole thing. Is just saying, you know what, we just watched the new Thor movie, and it's a very big departure from the previous 3. But we'll be covering all that in Snakehead because Snakehead just came out. Spiderhead. I wrote down Snakehead. What's wrong with me?
I don't know.
I'm an idiot, is what it's Spiderhead on the main the headline of my notes, but not the other one. What a genius that guy is. Spiderhead, available on Netflix, starring Chris Hemsworth, Miles Teller, and directed by Top Gun's Joseph Kosinski and all that kind of good stuff. But before we get started, we do want to say a big support. Thank you to everyone over at patreon.com/HMP. Those folks get the pre-show, post-show, and Dinger Zone. And we really appreciate all of you guys chiming in and, helping out the show. And, of course, if you can't do that, just drop us a review on iTunes or anywhere else that you find finer podcasts. That's a 5-star review, a.k.a. Humdinger.
Humdinger.
In a minute, some of y'all need to get on this. I know we got enough listeners, and we ain't got nearly enough reviews over there. So go review us there on the iTunes. We really appreciate it.
Please and thank you.
Let's do this since Bruce isn't here. It's always weird because I have to try to, go, where am I going with all of this stuff? So here is the trailer for Spiderhead. Say it correctly, Adam.
Hello again.
Sorry I'm late, Mr. Amnesty.
Not late at all. At Spiderhead, we're proud of our work.
Your presence in this facility, while technically a punishment, is a privilege.
Where have you been?
Drug study? In science, we have to explore the unknown.
They've been testing me up and down. A lot weirder stuff than usual.
This is new frontier stuff here.
Before we begin, I need your permission to administer 1040.
This place can really mess with your head.
Drip on. Acknowledge. Drip on.
Acknowledge.
Acknowledge.
Yeah, acknowledge.
Let's do this. Are we getting this?
This doesn't feel right. Time to worry about crossing lines was a lot of lines ago. Our work will save lives. Not just one life, many lives. We're making the world a better place. What you want is redemption. And this is how you're gonna find it.
We're selling peace and harmony itself.
Beautiful people get away with too much, and I say that having benefited myself from time to time.
Alrighty, everybody. That was the trailer for Spiderhead. Is currently available on Netflix right now, starring Chris Hemsworth, Miles Teller, Journey Smollett, and directed by Joseph Kosinski. Bruce isn't here, but let's see what we can do. Okay, let's be honest. Bruce being out this week and changing this until the last possible second here, the comic book connection is going to be a little bit light this week. Here's the Netflix reason that I ended up choosing this one. Adapted from George Saunders' story, the writers of Deadpool and Zombieland, this dystopian thriller takes place in a state-of-the-art prison. All it took was Deadpool and Zombieland for me to just go like, "There's a comic book connection." So that's about it, really.
I love that first Zombieland movie, man. The first Zombieland is great.
Did you see the second? I never watched the second.
I have. It's not worth watching, but that first one is so great.
Yeah, it just came out of left field there, and you were like, "Oh, this is really interesting." And let's be honest, though, as good as it was, there's no way that a sequel wouldn't just kind of be disappointing, especially after that much time had elapsed.
And not only that, but when like Zombieland was just such a surprise because it was around the time of Shaun of the Dead. And so how good can this possibly be? Because we just got a really great, funny zombie movie.
Yeah.
And then Zombieland came out and I was like, well, there's two funny zombie movies, I guess.
And then later you'd have like Warm Bodies, which was another one that was like really great.
Love that movie. But yeah, the Double Tap is there is almost no reason to see that movie. It's not very good.
Well, there's some interesting reasons to see this new movie, and let me break down this sucker, because this boy's got everything. We got Bruce-level dad jokes, Supertramp, speedboats, boat planes, drug testing, Etch-a-Sketch, drunk driving, Michael McDonald, drugs that make attractive people attracted to each other, Chuck Mangione, Thomas Dolby, anti-big tobacco rhetoric, Joust, Roxy Music, getting high on your own supply, a lottery of newscasters, that most of which are, I think they were all dead, passive-aggressive workplace talks, bingo, self-stabbing, stories of childhood abandonment with tons of laughter. Miles Teller looks a bit like a young John Cusack and a young Neil Breen for some reason. You can only
Neil Breen.
He looks like both. Like I'm telling you, a couple of them close-ups looks a little like Neil Breen. Ain't gonna lie. And only you can prevent forest fire speech. Another Smollett pretends to hang themselves. Hall & Oates, Pogo, a guy who likes to eat, and another sad story at a Walmart. This movie's got everything.
So, I don't know what you think about this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to put my foot in the water by saying this. I hate this movie so much.
Oh, okay.
I hate it. Chris Hemsworth is great as Thor. There's something magical and special about him as Thor. However, Chris Hemsworth as just about anything else doesn't work unless the whole point of it is this is one of the most handsome men in the world, because I don't believe him in anything besides just being a really handsome guy. The other part to this movie is putting Miles Teller in a role where you're supposed to be a sympathetic character,
Mm-hmm.
is a mistake that Hollywood has been making with Miles Teller for many, many years. You know, everybody loves him, including myself in the Drums movie. He's great in that movie. I can't remember what the name
Whiplash.
of it is. Whiplash. He is great in Whiplash. But anything else he's ever been in where he's supposed to be a sympathetic character, that movie doesn't work because Miles Teller, you can tell it comes radiating off the screen, is a prick in real life, and you can tell.
Yeah, I would imagine.
And that's fine. You can be a prick and be an actor. Those two things can go hand in hand. You just can't have someone who radiates prickiness as your sympathetic character.
Yeah, if Jimmy Stewart was a jerk, you wouldn't watch a lot of those movies.
Exactly. And so that is the issue that I have. That's the two main issues I have with this movie. The third issue I have, which is a mild issue, is the needle drops in this movie are all terrible. They're all put at the wrong spot. The wrong music is used. I don't know who chose this music. It's all wrong.
It's the Yacht Rock collection.
And that's fine. It can be Yacht Rock, but it doesn't work with this movie.
It's like, an odd choice.
It doesn't. It just simply doesn't work. You know, like there's certain, you can drop music, like you can drop weird style of music into your movie. That's happened 100 times and it's worked very successfully. I think that half of Tarantino's career is based on that.
Yeah.
But like these needle drops don't work for this movie because the needle drops never match what's happening on screen.
And they're not so disparately different from what's going on screen that it's fun, because that's something that I always like I always had this idea that like if I ever directed a horror movie, like the last like kind of credit stuff would just be stills of all the carnage that's left there with like crazy whatever's happy song kind of going along at the end. I like that kind of juxtaposition.
Well, I mean, you know, you're stuck in the middle with you moment. I mean, that's what you're talking about. So like, but it's not even that, you know, this movie isn't even that. And so to have a couple of really big problems right off the top and then have your script be boring, like all of these things, I really despise this movie. And thank goodness it's so short, because if it were like a 2.5 hour long monstrosity, I would have been very upset indeed.
I will say this, it's, for however you like it or not, at least it's under 2 hours. These days, that's like, it's kind of like the kiss from above, where you're just like, oh, I have been granted. And that's another reason outside of the, like I said, Deadpool writer, and I'm like, okay, boom, we got a little bit of something there for the comic connection. And I was like, under 2 hours, beautiful, because I can't watch 5 hours of The Boys today. I just don't have the time.
And I get that.
But I was like, let's get into for. You know, under 2 hours, why not? Let's give it a shot. Ultimately, I don't think that your criticisms are invalid at all. In fact, they are they're quite apt. However, I don't think that I hated this movie. For me, it was just kind of, it felt like it was a little bit more right in the middle. I like Miles Teller and just about everything. I thought that, like, ultimately, you're right. Like, you don't need to see him as kind of as a character that you feel sorry for, I guess, because, well, first and foremost, so here's kind of the idea, everybody. These people are in a prison, but it's a very, very nice open prison. Let's talk about this for half a second.
And
how
you
this
don't
thing's laid
even
out.
realize it's a prison till like halfway through the movie. Also, there's that part too.
Yeah, they kind of hide the ball, and you're like, what's going on here? And I thought that was at least good. Spoiler alerts for all this stuff, but the
it's a little late, but yeah.
You know, but I'm talking. Well, the next thing I'm saying is like a big spoiler.
Oh, I see.
The reveal in two separate scenes for the flashback. So the reason Miles Teller is in jail is because he got drunk driving, killed his buddy, and we find out in the second time that we watch that flashback that his lady was in that car too. I thought that was actually a really good storytelling device here of going through, showing us that first thing, and you think it's just him and his buddy because that's all we've been shown in that flashback. What you don't realize is his lady was sitting in the back seat as well. And I thought that was well done.
Not bad. You're right.
Made me go like, oh, okay, you guys thought a little bit about this and everything. But what do you think about this kind of this layer that they're in here? First and foremost, it's design. What is this design? I don't even know what I would call the design of this. We'll call it a jail/facility.
It's almost like Scandinavian futuristic is the best way I could describe it, because it's one of the ways that I would describe it is you can when you're doing the future, right? When you are production designing the future in your movie, generally most production designers go one of two ways. They either make it look like, well, one of three ways. I'm sorry. They either make it look like the post-apocalypse, or they make it look like an Apple store, or they make it look like Logan's Run.
Right.
And in this particular instance, it looks like an Apple store. And it's the right way to go, because when this movie probably didn't have a lot of money behind it, because it was clearly done on the cheap, clearly done during COVID, clearly done with like, hey, you guys got a month? Let's shoot this thing.
We've got this location here, which like it feels like they definitely like locked down wherever this location is, because there's no way
Australia.
they built this. Is that right?
Yeah.
So yeah, they lock that place down and they're like, okay, let's write some stuff around this and everything. And yeah, you're right. You can absolutely tell it was probably a COVID thing, because they don't really go anywhere. We kind of just stay in this one particular spot, which isn't awful, but
No.
because it is kind of the idea is that you're stuck here.
Well, the other part to this too is that, the director, Kaczynski, is that how you pronounce his name? Kaczynski, he is not nearly the director of the other movie I'm going to mention that was shot during COVID, which is in every single way superior, which is Kimmy, the movie from Soderbergh, where the woman is in the house, and
it's kind of a rear window kind of take in a lot of ways, in a good way.
Shut in. Yeah, it's a really, really terrific movie. Like, for what that movie is, well, of course, it better be. It's Soderbergh.
It's like he's kind of got a pedigree to hold up to. So it's like if it sucks real hard, but even then, he still doesn't care about that. I think in a lot of ways, it's just called.
I don't think so either.
This is the one that I'm making for me, baby.
Yeah, I think a lot of his movies are, hey, let me see if I can do this.
It's like nobody was crying out for Bubble. I mean, not for nothing. And Bubble's all right, but like nobody was going like, that's what we need right here from the man who brought you the Ocean's movies. Bubble. Okay, fine. I don't know why.
And so, Kaczynski here is not nearly the auteur that Soderbergh is. And so when the guy who directed Tron Legacy has something that is a smaller movie and requires more attention and more flair, we get this. This is the movie we got. And I'm not saying Kaczynski's a bad director, because I don't think he is. I think he's very competent.
I mean, and right now he's got a movie that just made $1 billion at the box office with Top Gun Maverick.
Look, he's going to be working for a long time. And also he's going to be one of those directors that's in the Cruise camp now, because Cruise kind of, like hand shows him.
Yeah, it feels like that he's kind of starting to get a staple of guys around that are just like, these are my boys. They kind of, and not for nothing, they are producing a lot of really great stuff for him to work with. So
yes,
you go with what works, baby.
And I don't think that Kaczynski is an incompetent director. I think he's very competent. The issue that I have is that there's nothing new. There's nothing like there wasn't a shot. There wasn't a sequence where when I'm watching the thing, I'm going, oh, wow, I would never have thought about doing it that way.
Yeah,
and there's the same thing with the script, too. The script is very paint by numbers.
Yeah, nothing that makes that stands out and is that thing that goes, oh, you'll watch this entire movie, but you're going to get to this point and you're going to be like, oh, okay, I got you. That's the thing. That's that. And this doesn't really have that. It kind of it gives you some reveals, some interesting emotional stuff, which, again, for the type of movie that it is, and I had no idea what it was going in. So like I almost had, I don't want to say preconceived notions, but like if you look at the last thing Hemsworth did on Netflix, they were all shoot 'em up, bang bangs, which I enjoy. But this is most assuredly not that. So if you're going in thinking that you're going to get some large action fare, you will not. But I don't know that you necessarily need that.
No, I don't think so. I don't think that's what movie this is. And this movie doesn't pretend to be that. Even watching the trailer, that it's not going to be a big action set piece movie.
Yeah.
I stand by what I said at the beginning of this of our program, where Chris Hemsworth, there's something about him that is so uninteresting when he is just playing a normal person in the world. And it's because he is so ridiculously handsome.
You are looking at this guy going like, what pharmaceutical doctor has this nice a hair and these like just perfect biceps? What's going on? What's happening here?
Because I just don't believe him. I don't believe that he's smart enough to get to this point. You know, it's the same thing with any other movie, whether it's there. I haven't even seen it. I've never even watched Men in Black International because I don't believe that he is a man in black.
No.
Like I right off the top, I'm just going to say it. I don't believe it.
He's not good in that. Tessa Thompson's not good in that. That whole movie is just, oh my word, what a turd and a half.
Well, you have done something special if you've made Tessa Thompson a bad actress. So good job, everybody.
It's not good. It's not her fault though either.
No, I didn't figure it was. She's really good. And so, you know, I don't believe that Miles Teller is down on his luck. I don't believe that Chris Hemsworth is in charge of this medical facility. I don't believe any of it. And so it just feels like you're watching almost like a stage play with two people who are like, you know, you guys, I'm slumming it a little bit, but I do believe in the script. Like it kind of feels like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like, oh, this seemed interesting enough, and you know, it's during COVID time here and everything, so these guys are probably raring to do a little bit of something. Been, you know, under the, you know, the quarantine eye and everything for this long. They're like, oh God, please, just let me get out, let me do something, so we can go down to Australia and just shoot this thing, like you said, probably in like well under a month here and everything, and just be done with it.
So do you know more about this than I do? Because I know nothing. But is Kaczynski and Miles Teller, is Miles Teller basically Kaczynski's Leonardo DiCaprio at this point?
It's possible. I will say this, because he actually came out and said it either this week or just quite earlier, is Jordan Peele said Daniel Kaluuya is his Robert De Niro.
Which I get. I totally understand.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. But I was just like, oh, yeah, why not? Why not? I would say, let's see, outside of what else did he? Oh yeah, he did Only the Brave. I saw that one. It was okay. Oblivion was good. So like he's done more decent stuff than not. Tron Legacy wasn't like, I don't think that was his fault necessarily. I don't think that was
the script
well put together to begin with, and the bad CGI. But one of the dopest soundtracks. We can definitely put it on there. So at least we got that, you know, that Daft Punk album out of Tron Legacy.
Boy,
and everything.
Man, I still listen to that on a consistent basis. That's how much I like that soundtrack.
At least something good came out of it.
Wow, so Only the Brave is also has Miles Teller in it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow,
real good, that one. I was surprised at how decent that flick was. All about these firefighters and going out and fighting fires, as it were, in the I forget what area. It's a big giant wooded area in the United States, probably Northwest.
I would imagine if you're saying big giant wooded area, usually that
all
that
on
means
fire,
Northwest.
Mm-hmm. It's somewhere along those lines, but really good. And so part of the thing that I liked about this too was I thought the whole cocktail of drugs and trying to figure out exactly what was, you know, kind of going on here. Everybody has like these little devices or whatever kind of put in the lower part of their back, which by the way also seems like the dumbest place to put that, doesn't it?
It's almost like when you know somebody who has to take insulin on a regular basis, and they have that pack that loops to their belt,
right?
That's kind of what it's like, except they put it on the back, and I think that's script reason, because you need to be able to see the lights through their shirt at certain points.
Yeah.
And also the like people get into scrums, and then it smashes into the packs, and the packs make the person go bananas. And so I think that for those two reasons is why they put those dumb packs on the back.
That, and when they put in the love drug in there and you're doing stuff, then you can just play a game of Simon.
Yes.
You know, give you something to do while you're also doing something not popular at the Walmart. I don't know. But I thought the idea was interesting, being able to kind of dial up the drug take things, go forwards and backwards. And of course, it also gets into the kind of Stanford experiment idea as well.
Yeah.
Of just like, what will you do to the other people that are out there, and like, what does it take? And the whole idea, again, spoiler alert, is trying to create a compliance drug, which I thought was like actually really, really interesting, because it's like,
it would have been.
Could have been. You're right. You're right. Could have been. Just to have something that goes, hey, we need soldiers, we need people, we need, just society as we can control it. And we'll do so through this, and then we'll make sure that everybody makes the right decisions as we see those decisions to be made. And I thought, like, it's at least a more interesting point than I would have expected this show to go.
Well, when you look at something like it, let's take a real life scenario, right? So in the 70s and 80s, baseball players were all on speed, like all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why there were so many fights all the time. Like you think there are fights in baseball today? There's almost none. There were so many fights in the 70s and 80s because everybody was on speed and everybody's tweaking out. And so looking at let me go backwards for a second, because my brain needs me to say this. That's why almost all baseball players in the 70s and 80s have what was known as a swimmer's body, because everybody was on speed. So just take the Stanford experiment, take things where that there's a big sample size of what people are like on certain drugs. You could have done that in this movie and just like nicely layered over that, but they did not do that in this movie. They wanted to do their own thing, and a lot of it was just out of plot necessity.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like it. Like there's a whole lot of we need to go from A to B because the script demands that we do, and there's not really a whole lot of. Like I understand that you want to give everybody like mysterious backgrounds, but when you have that and your script isn't bulletproof, it doesn't come off like your characters are mysterious. It comes off like, oh, this is an actor playing this role. Where I think if the script was a little more tight, then I wouldn't have felt that way. But when we don't know anything about Chris Hemsworth's character. Like we literally know nothing about that character.
Yeah, because the idea is that like he purports it as he's got these higher ups and everything that he has to report to and stuff like that. Turns out we find out that it is indeed his company. He is the top of all of this sort of stuff. But we never, I don't think we ever really learned any kind of motivation or exactly, part of it to me, though, seems like he was just super lonely.
Yes,
and wanted friends and
way.
Stuff. It's just like, because when when him and Miles Teller character end up going and getting on like the laughing drug or whatever, having a good time, it's just like, oh, this guy's just lonely and needs a buddy.
I could not tell you a single person's name in this movie.
They say it a whole bunch too, and that's another thing, is that they do say the name, maybe not X-Files frequency,
not
but
X-Files level,
but it is. There's enough in there to like, I feel like I should know these characters' names, but without looking, I don't.
I don't know a single.
Maybe there's a
name.
David in there. I don't know.
I'm looking right now.
His name was Clem. It was a real weird one. I don't know why. It didn't make a lot of sense in the story, but we just let Clem go with it. Y'all know those 32-year-old Clems.
Mm-hmm. So I know I just keep passing this thing, and that isn't really what we're supposed to be doing here.
That's okay.
I found this movie very difficult. The one thing that I really love about this movie is the seaplane. I love a seaplane. It is one of my favorite things, because it feels like a seaplane probably like it gives you an added comfort of, oh, we're completely out of fuel, but we are over the water.
That's okay. We can just kind of float this one on out.
So
Not
we
too
can
bad.
just float on in. Exactly. And so there's something really great about a seaplane to me, and they use it a lot in this movie, and they use it well.
And you could with seaplanes and stuff too. You can always kind of get out in the skiff there a little bit if you have to, in some sort of wild and crazy action thing. You just got you got a large little plate there to stand on and everything, so that's good. I could not understand a single thing that came out of his face when he was leaving in the plane and everything and on the radio, because it was just like, what the hell? What are we saying here? I'm just like, I'm not one of those, let me turn on the caption sort of people. I'm like, I guess he's going into some sort of distress. I don't know. But it's fine. Now, we'd seen her before in the Harley Quinn movie. I'd say at least on this particular podcast, that's where we probably know her best from. But Journey Smollett coming in here for this one. What do you think of her performance in this?
I think she's pretty good. I think that she has the same issue as as most actresses of her age group, where maybe it's just because I'm an old. But it feels like they everybody looks the same now to me. Yeah. And I know that she's also from Lovecraft Country, but she's not the person that I was watching the performance of in Lovecraft Country. The guy who plays Kang now, he's the guy that I was watching his performance. And I kept thinking that guy's going to be a massive star. But I don't know. I mean, she is fine. She is fine, but she looks like 15 other actresses, Yeah,
who I did think it was somebody else at first. I forget who the actress that I thought was. I was just like, is this? And I was like, oh, no, it's her. And now that you look at it, because, hair, makeup, all that kind of stuff changed. She looks, a fairly bit different here than she does in Birds of Prey, to be sure. So I was like, oh, okay, I see it. I thought she was fine. I thought her, her big moment there, the big reveal for her character and everything was pretty good. Maybe not amazing, but well enough. Yeah,
it's fine. To me, she was the least problematic of the actors, quite honestly. I've complained about Miles Teller. I've complained about Chris Hemsworth. I haven't complained about her at all. She's fine. She's totally fine in this movie.
Oh, and I think, I'll have to look back and maybe do a little bit of research here, but I want to know what the percentage of points is of Miles Teller movies where he gets into a car accident.
Oh, it's gotta be most of them.
Feels like it's, think about it. Like it's there between this and Whiplash, and there's a couple others in there that's just like, we're just getting a lot of car crashes here, aren't we?
Does Reed Richards get into a car crash in that movie? I can't remember. I've only seen it once, thankfully.
I don't think so. I don't remember. I don't know. Days don't work for me anymore. Everything's all over the place. But yeah, Hemsworth. I went back and forth on his performance in this. I know exactly what you're saying, but there are points where I'm like, I think, okay, I'm gonna try to give as much credit as I can. Okay. This may be a load of crap, and I'm giving Hemsworth a lot more praise and stuff than he may deserve. But I kept vacillating back and forth of is he doing a really good character all the way through, or is it just not super great acting? Because I couldn't quite tell, because there are moments where I'm just I feel like this is a choice that he specifically made, and then there's other times where I'm thinking, did he make this choice because there are no other choices for him to make? If that makes sense.
I think he's a totally competent actor. I don't think it's one of those things where oh, dude, you're way above your weight class here. I don't think it's that.
Yeah.
I think that it's more of he is he's pretty good with an accent. His accent as Thor, that's not his real accent.
Right.
His accent in this, his American accent, his American accent is far superior to Benedict Cumberbatch's. I think the problem might be with him, where I just don't believe him in anything besides being either the God of Thunder or just a super handsome dude who's kind of dumb.
Captain Handsome. Yeah, because not for nothing, the movie itself wasn't great, but his little bit in the Lady Ghostbusters was great, just because it was just this stupid. That was the thing that we designed it to be, is this handsome dum dum.
he is funny in that, and kind of like he's not as funny as everybody thinks he is in that movie.
It's good, but it is like I think he got a lot of credit because it was just like, oh, a handsome person being funny. Let's praise him to the moon. It's like it's good. Right. Pump the brakes on, like he's not the next, whatever. But it's fine.
You've got 4 of the funniest women in comedy in that movie, and you can't make that movie funny. That is on you, Paul Feig. That is on you, sir.
but yet Hemsworth takes off a pair of glasses and puts his fingers through the holes of the eyes.
Oh my God.
It's just like, all right. And from what I'm to understand, that was his improv.
Oh, that's funny.
So,
I know. I did recently see an interview with Taika Waititi where they were asking him why he agreed to do that third Thor movie, Ragnarok. Mm-hmm. And he said, I wanted to play in someone else's sandbox, which I had never done before. And I realized that they were on their 17th movie. And so they knew what they were doing. And all I could do was add to what that juggernaut already was. And so, I looked around the room and was like, oh, this guy is actually funny. And they're not utilizing how funny he actually is. And, they're not using any of the Jack Kirby stuff for any of this Marvel stuff. Like, let's put that in the movie. And it was fascinating because that's kind of what we said during our review of Ragnarok was like, somebody finally said, hey, Jack Kirby did all this great work. Why isn't any of it being utilized?
Yeah. Can't we make this look cool and interesting and neat? And
right.
It's like the funnest part about like that movie and a couple of these other things is that you're going in and you're doing something and seeing things that you've never seen before. And especially, in a Marvel thing that's been going on 10 years plus at this point, to see something different, to see something interesting is what you're begging for it the entire time because, last thing you want is just to continue to be told the exact same thing over and over and over again because that's going to get boring and then you don't have 20 plus movies to choose from because they stop because no one's going to watch them because they're boring.
Yes.
But
and
here
I think
it works.
I think it's funny because watching my Twitter feed talk about Thor Love and Thunder is that the 2 complaints could not be more different. One complaint is they just keep making the same movie over and over again. And the other complaint is, why don't they stick with what works? Those are literally the most opposite of a complaint you can possibly have. So let's get it together, everybody.
Yeah, exactly. And that's and I think that goes into a lot of things, especially with even Star Wars, for example. And that's one of the biggest things that I think people have with Star Wars and that their confusion as to what exactly that they want from this. Because I think if you ask most people, they go, we want something that's completely different than, the things that we know before, but we also want it to be interesting and familiar to us. So, while still that comfort of familiarity there, you do need something that's, interesting and different and the thing that will keep you coming back movie after movie or show after show, depending upon, what medium we're looking at.
Yeah.
So, ultimately, this is not going to be a long show this week because I don't know that there's a whole heck of a lot to talk about with this. It's okay. It's kind of this could be a long episode of a bottle episode of a television show if you think about it, because we've got this one location we rarely move, and the outdoor shots you can just I don't think we see a single person physically outdoors. Everyone's either in a plane or something else, or in a building, but no one's even outside or anything. So it's very limited as to what kind of goes on, and it's really, like you said, this could really be a play.
Although they don't play with the claustrophobia of it.
That is true. This prison
which is
wide
another
open.
problem. It's another problem. Look, use your limitation as a boon. Nope, not this movie.
And they find out that he's they're keeping people there. They're in prison, so they got them out of prison, put them into this special facility that's wide open, and they have to go through all of these experiments and everything. But at the same time, it's like you said, it doesn't lean into one thing or the other, because I don't know how these people would be reacting, especially because from what we've seen, they're not necessarily violent criminals per se, but I don't know that, like, especially that one big dude, the tatted up guy with the black eye and everything. You're not letting
the former wrestler guy.
You're not letting that guy in that facility. He's gonna kill everybody. Look at that man. He's frightening. You're gonna let him, like, if he tells you, he promises he's gonna be real good, and you can just pump him full of happy drugs, and he's not gonna murder everybody. Is that your hope for this thing? Because I think it's bad. Though I did like the idea of. We had this scene previously with, you know, him and the lady, and they get the sexy drug. They're going after it. Then the next scene, he's sitting there with this giant man. He's like, "Look, not for nothing, but I don't want to do this." He's like, "Listen, whatever's you just do you. But me, I prefer not. I prefer not this giant man murder me here in ways that I would not enjoy." But overall, it's just kind of like it's a movie that's there.
It is, and it really does feel like something that you back in the old days of TV where you would channel surf. Mm-hmm. It feels like if you were channel surfing, you might watch this for a minute or two because there are some interesting visuals to this movie, but overall, it's mostly boring and. So you would give it like a minute or two, and then you'd flip to the next thing.
It feels like there's something buried deep inside. The possibility of this was never quite fully realized.
Right.
It's like it's there. You've got like an interesting premise. You've got some good actors. You got a decent director here. It's just something at the end just doesn't kiss it right up and make it, you know, kind of work properly. And
this feels like an old script. This feels like a script that they had already. And now that they're all successful and famous, they're like, hey, you know, you want to make a movie? Let's make this one.
Yeah, COVID, we can bang this one out real quick. Nice, easy paycheck for us. All the, you know, production design and everything's already done for us. We just get these people in here, boom, we're in and out in, you know, a month and a half total. That's pre-production and everything. They're just finished up. But that's also the cool thing too, is they got like just enough like neat little prop designs and everything, and the sets look well enough. I like the little the observation kind of deck, as it were, with all of that stuff put out. It looks good. It's well designed. It makes you believe that this world exists and everything. So at least they do a well enough job with that of kind of selling you on this facility and the idea of all of it. But ultimately, I feel like it's just a story that kind of really breaks down and falls apart and just doesn't give you that completeness. But let's talk about this for half a second.
Yeah.
Because Netflix itself is falling under a lot of scrutiny for a lot of these movies, because Netflix itself has been putting out just movie after movie after movie, because eventually when they figured out, hey, all of these other studios and stuff will be taking back their programming to put it on their own streaming services. So Netflix was at least very smart and saw, you know, where the puck was going, and they're like, we need to start making our own stuff. Problem is with that, we've made so much stuff at this point that we get into a law of diminishing returns on this kind of stuff.
Well, you know what Netflix reminds me of right now is, remember HBO, their original programming, like in the late 80s, early 90s, where HBO was like, you know what, we want to have our own stuff. Mm-hmm. And so you got a lot of like R-less and that show where the guy kept having like Dream On. That show Dream On HBO. You know, I don't think anyone would ever say Arliss is my favorite show. Dream On is my favorite show. It was just there. It was just on, but they kept airing it because it was HBO's own. And I think that once they got into quality control later, that's when we get the best television that you know, we're in that era now. Mm-hmm. If once HBO starts doing quality control, then everyone else follows suit, because they're like, oh, HBO is making money hand over fist because they care about their content, so we should probably too. And I think that is basically where Netflix is right now. Is they're at the Arliss / Dream On era of their of their lifespan.
You're in your Arliss time. This is the Arliss period of your life. It's not a good one.
You know, not a lot of people talk about hookers at the point, but there were they showed that all the time too.
Here comes some Taxi Cab Confessions live on Netflix.
Real sex That was on HBO a lot.
Hey, boy, you want to talk
Like,
about the biggest bait and switch ever. That show, you're just like, especially like as a young lad, you're like, all right, we're going to tune into this. What's going on here? Oh, a senior citizen, nudist colony.
Yes.
Great.
Old people naked. That's what that show is.
Super. This is really but you'd keep watching because every now and then there'd be something like slightly sexy in it, and then you're just like, oh, this is a good one. But then like right after that, you can forget about it because somebody's playing bocce ball with their bocce balls hanging out, and it ain't no good for anybody.
And so that's where we are with Netflix right now. Like
you're naked bocce ball with old people.
Eventually, they're going to stop giving Adam Sandler money.
But his movies keep doing
yet.
so well. That's like he's one of he's their biggest star over there. Of all the things that Netflix is doing, that's the one thing I think they won't be pumping the brakes on is the Adam Sandler stuff because for whatever reason, it keeps going. He doesn't even look like he goes to wardrobe anymore in these movies, does he?
I don't think he does.
He's just like he shows up in his sweats and everything, and they're just like, all right, pop him on. Do we need to do a quick round of makeup? No. Throw him in there. It's fine. Like, there's some meme going around right now. I don't even know where it's from, but they're like, Adam Sandler, what are you doing here? And he just goes, I'm waiting for him to play Gangnam Style. And I'm just like, is this a joke? Is that a joke? Is it funny? Like, he's delivering it with and I know it's the point is the deadpan delivery, but it's almost like he doesn't even care about the deadpan. It's not even caring, it feels like.
But what we're talking about is two separate issues then, because if the Adam Sandler stuff is the most popular stuff on Netflix, then that's fine. And you can be that streaming service that has nothing but Adam Sandler movies and, like other garbagey stuff like that people tune into. If that is what your streaming service is, that's fine. That's what you are. But that identity isn't there yet. There's still that side of Netflix where it's like, well, we have House of Cards, like that.
Exactly.
Sort of
they're still trying to figure out exactly like where they are and what their place is. Because you're right. We thought it was kind of the House of Cards, the Kimmy Schmidts, the early Netflix stuff. And it seemed like, oh, well, they've got kind of like a little interesting niche going on. And then when it just seems like when they expanded on things, and I understand you got to bulk up that portfolio because you're going to be losing out on standard studio fare because they're taking all of their stuff back. So I understand the need for that kind of level of content, but eventually you got to start going, where's the return on this? And I think Netflix themselves is also realizing this and pumping the brakes on how much money they're spending on movies and TV series and stuff that because Netflix isn't profitable. I don't know if anybody knows, but Netflix does not make money. Not yet. Not like, good proper money here and everything. It's
because
because
they have the big plan. Their big plan is that they have all this content now that's their own. And then, over time, you're going to make a lot more money because all of this content is your own content. And it's quite honestly, it's a good plan.
It's what you have to do in their particular situation. It's one of those, you certainly can't blame them for the route that they're going because they don't have a whole heck of a lot of other choices other than that or packing up and leaving.
You just have to decide. You just have to decide what your streaming service is. Are you going to be Mindhunter? Or are you going yet another Marlon Wayans movie?
Exactly. It's everybody's clamoring for Mindhunter season 3, but then they're like, well, we don't want to give David Fincher money. You don't want to give David Fincher money? What's wrong with you? But you'll give Adam Sandler money to sit with Drake and talk about basketball or some nonsense. I don't know what's going on the Netflix. I don't watch stuff. All right, well, let's get down to it. We have to ask ourselves one very important question is how this movie on Netflix relates back 1-to-1 with Sylvester Stallone.
Thank you, Adam. I have a prepared statement.
Ooh.
Hello, Mr. Stallone. It's Sweet Chauncey. It's been a long time since I spoke about the worst type of person on a movie set. Yes, most producers are awful, and they often say things that make you want to pull out your own teeth, like, I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual. And I know this is going to sound crazy because we're at MTV, but we don't have a lot of money. And of course, my favorite, we're a green company. Just don't look in our dumpsters.
Oh, yeah.
And I could go on and on and on. But the worst person on a movie set, as longtime listeners will know, are Teamsters. Awful, lazy, and if you're lucky, just racist. They are the go-to department if something was stolen or if there's sexual harassment charges filed. So I usually have nothing but terrible things to say about Teamsters, but not today, because today I was saved by a Teamster.
Teamster saved my life tonight.
This boring movie we're reviewing was made in Australia with Australians. And if there's any other connection to you, please feel free to write to me on Twitter at SeanKovacs4 and tell me otherwise, Mr. Stallone, because this week, the only person who worked on Spiderhead that also worked with you is Transportation Captain Adam Pinkstaff, a guy who's been around the movie industry, not actually working, but employed since 1991, when he was a driver on Highlander 2, The Quickening.
Yeah.
Since then, he was hired by, but probably didn't do much work on shows like Moesha and Arliss. And then in 1997, he was a driver for the underwater unit on Copling.
Oh.
Don't ask me why there's an underwater unit and why that underwater unit needs a dedicated driver for the movie Copland, because I don't know.
Well, So he his accident involves water in that movie. So
you're right.
So when he ends up falling in and stuff for the ear, it all involves water. So like that's actually he probably worked with Dole Sly 1-to-1.
Oh yeah, he probably knows him by face.
Mm-hmm.
I also don't know why he was a driver on the TV show Las Vegas and then again on the movie Grudge Match, because all of those projects were shot in different cities across the country. But Mr. Stallone, I'm not here to bury Mr. Pinkstaff. I'm here to praise him. He was the only connection to you this week. I hope to hear from you soon. Your pal, Sweet Chauncey from the internet.
Hey, listen, all you got to do is connect them up, baby. And in this week of the last-minute movie subbing out for Thor in the midst of COVID and God knows what else, you do what you got to do, everybody. So let's get down to it. Here at Hero Movie Podcast, we have our own patented Robin rating system. Sean, where does, what's the name of this movie? Spiderhead fall off on the Robin rating system for you?
It's a Stephanie Brown for me. It's not the worst thing we've ever seen, but I don't like this movie. I hate it, in fact. But it's a Stephanie Brown. It's something where, like, if somebody has it on, I'm not going to think less of them for watching it.
You walk through and they're watching this. You scumbag!
There are things that people could have on TV where I would think less of them for having it on. But this is not one of those things.
You don't do Bob the Builder in this house. How dare you?
Yes, we can.
For me, I'm gonna go Damian Wayne here, right in the middle. I didn't love this, but I didn't hate it. I was just like, oh, that was a movie. It was under 2 hours. I didn't feel like throwing things, so that was nice.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I saw 2 Chris Hemsworth movies this week. This one's not as good as the other one, I would say. Just a slight spoiler alert, and I'm not even like fully telling you my real thoughts on the other one, but this one is not quite as good. So if you're gonna pick between the 2 Hemsworth movies that are out, I say go to the Thor one. That's just me, and just talking, and we'll
That's
talk
good
about
advice, Adam.
We'll talk about Thor: Love and Thunder next week. So we'll do all of that stuff, and Bruce will be back, and so we'll get these boys in here, and I'll probably try to watch Thor: Love and Thunder one more time, just so I've got a little refresher on my hands and everything as well. So join us back here next week for that one. In the meantime, where can they find more of our work on the internet?
We do a show called 30 Questions where we have talked about so many different nerdy properties, whether it's your Star Wars property, your Marvel television show property. Sometimes we'll even go crazy and do Snowpiercer 30 Questions, the first season of that. If there is a 30 question show you are interested in listening to, if you put into your podcatcher 30Q, I'm pretty sure that any of our shows will pop up.
Yeah,
so check those out.
They're up there, so check all those out and everything. We really appreciate it. That is it, everybody. Join us next week. When we're talking Thor: Love and Thunder. Gives you guys enough chance to go see it. If you haven't seen it, now you got a whole nother week. So I don't want to hear any excuses about how, like, well, it came out on Friday and then the podcast comes out on Monday. I don't have enough time. Now you got an extra week. No excuses, all right? So download the episode next week. Tell your friends, smack your mama, and all that kind of good stuff. That is it, everybody. Join us next week for Thor, Love, and Thunder. For Sweet Sean Zakovach from the internet and the absent Bruce Leslie, I'm Adam Portress. Stay super, everybody.
Bye, Marty and Evie.
What I want, you got, and it might be hard to handle. But like a flame that burns a candle, the candle feeds the flame. Yeah, what I got, full stock of thoughts and dreams that scatter. When you pull them all together, and I can't explain. Oh yeah, well, you make my dreams come true. Twist and